So today we have Miss Stephanie Chai, the founder and managing director of the Luxe Nomad. The Luxe Nomad is a luxury villa booking portal which features over 1,800 property listings all over the world. Hi Stephanie, welcome to the show today and thank you for joining theageproperty.com to share with us on your project, the Luxe Nomad. Perhaps why don't we start off with you introducing yourself as well as how do you start out the Luxe Nomad and what is it all about?
Well, I run a luxury villa booking portal called the luxenomad.com. I started it in July 2012. Previously, I used to do what you're doing exactly right now, being a TV presenter and so forth. But I left that life behind because I always wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
So how I started the business was actually a friend of mine owed me a business idea because he had taken a business idea of mine. So he was always sending me emails and he sent me one day of a site in the States called jetsetter.com. He was like, oh babe, I think you'd do this because you like to travel a lot and stay in nice places but not pay a lot. So I said, you know what, I looked at it, 5 minutes later, I emailed him back and I said—
5 minutes?
Yeah, I said, and I just somehow knew that I should do it.
Right.
And that was the beginning. I had no idea how much work it would be.
That sounds interesting. So how has it been so far for you? How's the journey so far?
It has been a lot of hard work. If someone ever says being an entrepreneur running a business is easy, then they haven't done it yet. Because it's 24/7 and it's very difficult to switch off. But having said that, it's amazing to be in a position where you can create, you can dictate and basically form something out of nothing. And I think when we started the Luxe Nomad, there was Booking.com, Expedia, Airbnb was just starting out. There are a lot of great travel sites, but nothing that was in the luxury segment and nothing that was inspirational. And to me, as someone who loves to travel should be about dreaming, it should be about like, wow.
Definitely.
Suddenly that's become my reality.
Yes. I've just recently checked out the Luxe Nomad Instagram and it has over 125,000 followers to date. And that's a huge amount of followers, and also the photos look great. I wish I was there now. You focus a lot on luxury properties, right?
Why? It's called the Luxe Nomad.
Why luxury properties? Is there a reason why you decided to go onto this niche?
Yeah. Well, let's be fair. Who dreams of staying in a budget hotel as opposed to a 5-star place,
not
right?
Me, not me for sure.
I've always liked staying in nice places, and one of our sort of, promises was luxury for less, affordable luxury. And we're very focused on the villa market now, which is fantastic because you can get your own 5-bedroom villa in Phuket with a chef, a butler, daily maid service for a price cheaper than a 5-star hotel. So I've always liked the idea of aiming for that middle to upper middle class. And why didn't I go mass? Well, if you want to compete against the likes of Booking.com and Expedia, you need billions of dollars. Whereas I think the niche space is something that usually the giants overlook, but it gives an opportunity to entrepreneurs such as myself.
Sure. And where do these bookings come from usually? Like, where are these people from?
Our customers are predominantly from Singapore, Australia, Hong Kong, and Malaysia. When I first started, of course, being Malaysian, most of our clients were from Malaysia. But unfortunately, for you and I, who have ringgit, our ringgit has sort of taken a bit of a hit the last couple of years. And travel is very sensitive to movements in currency. So unfortunately, Malaysians went from number 1 to number 4.
Where do the top 3 travelers come from?
Australia, Singapore, Hong Kong, because of course they've got the spending power. The average Singaporean might earn maybe, let's say, 5,000 Sing a month. You can travel to Bali and a night would be about 200 to 300 Sing for a nice place. So it's definitely more affordable for them. Destinations, as in where do they go to, is 70% of travel in Asia Pacific is always within the region, right? It takes a lot more time to travel to Europe or the States, and we only have so much leave.
Right, okay. And you mentioned that you were previously a TV presenter, so you were in a totally different industry, from entertainment to starting up your own business. How has that given you the edge, when you started out?
Well, I think when I was in television and modeling, I learned a lot from a couple of my agents who taught me about negotiation. I also learned that from my father as well, who ran his own business. I would say when you're in television and you're modeling, you're traveling to many different places, you must be adaptable and learn how to work with different cultures. The same thing when you're an entrepreneur, you have to be flexible. You cannot be rigid.
Of course.
You know,
Yes,
and you cannot be so much, so black and white. Especially in Asia, we have developed countries like Singapore, then you go to Indonesia where things are not so black and white. So you need that flexibility. Essentially, I went from, you know, working maybe 1 or 2 days a week on average to earning a lot less and working 6.5 days on average.
Right. And I'm sure everything that you have now is built upon hard work and a lot of perseverance. Maybe you could share with us what were some of the challenges that you faced throughout your whole journey?
I think there were some pivotal challenges. Originally, we started as a flash sale site. So, I mean, if you remember, there was Groupon, there was a whole flash sale trend. But, you know, at a certain point, people become immune to stuff on sale. It's like going to a department store, which is always 50% off. You don't get so excited after a while. So I could see that maybe about 6 months to a year down the line of operations, where I was like, well, if I'm not excited about the email, how is everyone else going to be excited? So we saw the numbers sort of piling in for the villa market, and we really liked the vacation rental space. And in 2015, we did a full pivot. So we stopped the flash sales, we just focused on the villa market, and we were very lucky it paid off. We doubled our annual sales, albeit keeping our OPEX flat.
Wow,
so that paid off, but of course not every pivot in the startup world works.
Right, definitely. Okay, so Stephanie, what is a typical day like for you at work?
Well, you know, as a CEO and founder, your role is always sort of changing. Generally, I oversee probably about 3 or 4 departments, be it tech, customer service, marketing, and overall strategy, plus probably something else I've forgotten. So it'll be touching base with those teams and making sure they're on track for tasks. Then it's also overall strategy. So at the moment, we're looking at potential acquisitions. So speaking to different partners and seeing
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've never done M&A before, but you know, I think it's very integral to our future. And I personally enjoy learning new things.
Right. So you're very hands-on in your business?
Yeah, extremely hands-on.
Extremely hands-on.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing because you know you're putting all your hard work into this company.
Well, I think you have to work smart. When I first started the business, you know, I was helping crop the photos and upload them to the website. Thankfully, I don't have to do that anymore. So now I'm a bit more in a sort of position where I can delegate.
Sure, okay. And where are your 3 top destinations that you would tell everyone you have to go to these places?
Japan, I love Japan. There's always a lot to discover, especially in Tokyo. Niseko for skiing. Maldives, super romantic and just paradise on earth. And third, I think Italy, maybe my mother's Italian, but the Italians are very friendly.
Yeah.
They speak with their hands, as I do, and fantastic food.
All right, okay. And also, I understand that recently the company just went into property management. So you're actually managing villas in Bali and also Airbnb in Tokyo. Maybe you can share with us a little bit about that?
So I think Luxe Nomad, you know, we've always been the middleman. We've acted as a booking portal, and for us, the next natural step of expansion is management. So you can book with us, and then theoretically, you can also check into a Luxe Nomad property.
I see.
So for us, we're building a brand. And we're stamping the brand on different properties, be it villa or apartments. So when we act as a manager, then we put them on our website, but we also put them on other platforms such as Airbnb, because our goal is to maximize bookings.
Sure, okay. And like you mentioned earlier on, startups are not easy. You require a lot of funds, right? And it's a very
capital intensive.
Yes, it is. And you know, do you have any advice for people out there who are looking to start up their own business, and how can they raise their funds?
Well, I mean, fundraising is not easy. When I fundraised for Luxe Nomad, we did 250,000 Sing from an angel investor there, a professional startup investor. And I had not looked at an Excel spreadsheet since I studied finance at university.
I hate Excel.
I was like, revenue, But you know what? What I don't know, I always find someone who knows it better than me. So I think that is a key thing when you're an entrepreneur, is finding people who are naturally better at different skill sets. But having said that, you should understand it and you should know it. So I might not be an ace in Excel, but I can definitely read the statement and I can play around with the numbers.
And that's important, right? Because it's always a learning curve.
Well, how can you manage people if you don't understand a bit of what they're doing?
That's right. Yeah.
So I'm now very techie. But raising funds, it's about finding an investor who sees the same vision as you. Don't simply take money from everyone, because that's really important. You don't want to be fighting with your investor years down the line because they want you to do X and you want to do Y. You can always disagree, but you should have generally the same values and visions.
Sure.
There are so many people interested in investing in startups now. I mean, it's a huge trend, right? Everyone is looking at the startup scene, but of course very few succeed. And even though Luxe Nomad, this is our 5th year, I don't sort of sit back and assume it's going to be a bed of roses forever.
Yes,
so you always constantly have to be on your feet.
Sure.
But I think it's looking at, is your business idea viable? Like, will you do it to the end? Before I started Luxe Nomad, I had like maybe 10 different business ideas that I ran through. So it's not easy finding the right idea.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but in 5 years' time, the Luxe Nomad will be a decade old. And that's wow.
Really old.
Right. Do you have any future expansion plans, or where do you see the company growing into?
I think hopefully by the time we hit 10 years, we should be partially acquired by a larger group. Because you have a lot of consolidation in the travel industry. It's very competitive, which makes it better to merge together.
And I'm sure that there are many out there who look up to you, who want to be like you as well. Do you have any advice for all these budding entrepreneurs like yourself?
And I think some entrepreneurs feel pressure because you read TechCrunch, etc., and it's like this unicorn, that unicorn. You must remember there are really only a handful of unicorns who make it, right?
That's right.
And just because you aren't a billion-dollar business doesn't mean you're not a great business. So I think for entrepreneurs out there, be realistic with how big your market is, what your growth will be. Don't fudge the numbers. I know some people promise the world. I think in terms of the long term and making it, it's always better to under-promise, over-deliver.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much, Daphne, for joining us today, and we're really excited to hear about your story. Ladies and gentlemen, here we have Stephanie Chai, the founder and managing director of the Luxe Nomad.